Alana's heart beat super fast against her chest as a strong hand grabbed her elbow at Incheon International Airport security. She didn't have to look back to know who it was. She'd remembered the warmth of that touch 6 months ago. 3 weeks. She'd stayed hidden for 3 weeks after going into his office and seeing the truth. 3 weeks of sleeping in her friend's tiny apartment, jumping at every noise, planning this exact getaway. And he'd been waiting at the airport like he'd known the whole time. "We need to talk." Shin Young-soo's voice was smooth but tough, said quietly so only she could hear. From the corner of her eye, she saw the clean edges of his black suit, the scary calm that made big guys back off. She tried to pull away. His hold, soft but totally firm, stayed put. "I have nothing to say to you." The words sounded stronger than she felt. The positive pregnancy test in her purse felt like it was burning through the bag, right into her body. She'd taken it 2 days ago in a store bathroom, looking at those 2 pink lines until they got blurry. 4 guys in fancy suits showed up around them like ghosts. Airport security didn't even see it. Of course, they didn't. Young-soo owned half of Seoul, and the other half knew not to ask stuff. But here's what Alana didn't know yet. While she'd been hiding, Young-soo had been following every store buy, every subway trip, every breath she'd taken. The pregnancy test bill had hit his desk in an hour. "You're pregnant." His dark eyes stuck on hers with that strong look that used to make her knees soft. Now it just made her want to run quicker. "Good. Now you can't run." The airport sounds announcements, rolling bags, crying kids faded to white noise. Alana's throat got tight. "Watch me." Something flashed on his face. Pain maybe, or anger. With Young-soo the two looked the same. "I already have people on your flight to Los Angeles." He spoke calmly like he was talking about the weather, but his jaw was so tight she could see the muscle moving. "At your mother's house in Miami, at your sister's place in Atlanta." He leaned closer, and she hated how her body still reacted. The sandalwood and danger smell of him, the heat coming off his skin. His thumb drew a circle on her wrist, right over her fast pulse. The ink on his knuckles, Korean letters she'd once kissed, looked darker against her brown skin. "You're mine, Alana. You've always been mine." The softness in those last words scared her more than any warning because 3 weeks ago, she'd gone into his office in Cheongdong with lunch and excitement. What she'd found instead was the real Shin Young-soo. Not the charming businessman who'd learned Spanish sweet words to whisper on her neck. Not the man who'd looked at her like she was his whole world. She'd seen the crime boss, cold, in charge, setting up deals with bags of cash and guys with hidden guns. The way he'd looked at her when she'd frozen in that doorway, not surprised, just tired, had broken something in her heart that still hadn't fixed. Everything between them had been built on lies. "Let me go," she whispered, hating the way her voice broke. "Please." His grip loosened just a bit. "You'd think I'd hurt you. I don't know what you do." The truth hurt coming out. "I don't know who you are." Airport security finally saw the fuss. 2 officers came over, hands on their sticks, speaking fast Korean. Young-soo's guys moved, making a wall of muscle and threat. In the mess, Alana saw her chance. She twisted hard, her self-defense lessons from Miami finally helpful. Young-soo's grip loosened for just a second, surprised maybe that she'd really fight back, and she ran. Behind her, she heard his voice sharp with orders in Korean, then English. "Let her go." Those 3 words chased her harder than footsteps ever could. Alana didn't stop, didn't look back. She pushed through the crowd, her breath coming in scared gasps, one hand naturally pressed to her still flat belly. What was she supposed to tell their child about the dad? That he was beautiful and dangerous, and she'd loved him before she'd known better. She made it to the taxi spot, jumped into the first cab, and gasped out an address in bad Korean, a safe house in Hong Kong. The driver, an older woman with kind eyes, asked something Alana didn't get. "Please," Alana whispered in English, tears finally coming out. "Please just drive." As the taxi drove away, she looked back. Young-soo stood at the terminal door, hands in his pockets, with his guys around him. The setting sun put half his face in shadow, making him look like exactly what he was. Beautiful and deadly and totally not sorry. He pulled out his phone, never stopping eye contact with her leaving cab. He wasn't chasing her. He didn't need to. The thought hit her like cold water. He'd let her run, which meant he already knew exactly where she'd go. And as the taxi joined Seoul traffic, Alana pressed her hand harder against her belly and wondered what scared her more. That Shin Young-soo had let her escape, or that some broken, sneaky part of her had wanted him to stop her. Will Alana make it to safety, or does Young-soo already have her trapped? Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And trust me, you'll want to see how far he's willing to go to keep her. The women's shelter in Hongdae looked like rescue wrapped in old paint and blinking lights. Alana paid the taxi driver with the last of her money and stumbled through the door, her legs shaking so bad she had to hold the doorframe. A woman in her 60s looked up from behind a desk full of forms and donation boxes. Her face was kind, the soft, worn kind that came from seeing too much hurt and picking kindness anyway. "Do you speak English?" Alana's voice came out rough, desperate. "I'm Sister Mary." The woman's American accent hit Alana like a rescue line. "You're safe here, honey. Whatever you're running from, it stops at that door." Alana wanted to believe her. God, she wanted to believe that any door in Seoul could keep Shin Young-soo out. But what Alana didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, as Sister Mary led her down the narrow hallway, was that 3 buildings down, a black car had already parked with a clear view of her window, and the man inside had no plan to kick down any doors. Not yet. Sister Mary didn't ask questions. She just showed Alana to a small room with a single bed, clean sheets, and a window looking over a narrow alley. It wasn't much, but after 3 weeks of hiding in her friend's cramped one-room apartment before the airport mess, it felt like a palace. "There's a bathroom down the hall," Sister Mary said. "Shared, but clean. We serve breakfast at 7, but don't feel pushed to join if you're not ready." She stopped at the door, her face gentle. "I've been running this shelter for 15 years. I've seen women arrive in worse shape than you, and I've seen them leave stronger. You will, too." The door clicked shut, and Alana finally let herself fall onto the bed. Her whole body hurt from running, from fear, from the weight of carrying a child she hadn't planned with a man she couldn't trust. She pulled out her phone. 63 missed calls from Young-soo, 47 text messages she hadn't opened. Her thumb hovered over them, torn between deleting everything and reading every word. She settled by blocking the number totally. There, done. He couldn't reach her now. The relief lasted exactly 5 seconds before the guilt hit, because under the fear and betrayal, there was still the memory of his hands in her hair, his mouth on her neck, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. 6 months of falling in love didn't go away just because she found the truth, but it should. It had to. Alana pressed her hand to her belly, still flat, still the same, but carrying proof of every mistake she'd made. "We're going to be okay," she whispered to the tiny bunch of cells that would become her child. "I'm going to keep us safe." She just had to figure out how. Over the next few days, Alana got into a routine. Sister Mary gave basics without asking. Toiletries, a change of clothes from the donation bin, simple meals. The shelter had 6 other women, all with their own bad memories, all careful not to ask too many questions. Alana spent her mornings learning basic Korean phrases from a donated book. Her afternoons were for planning, looking up flights back to Miami, figuring how much money she'd need, thinking how to disappear right this time. And her nights were for lying awake, wondering if Young-soo was looking for her, or if he'd finally given up. On the 4th day, Sister Mary brought her a small bottle. "Prenatal vitamins," she said simply. "I noticed you've been sick in the mornings." Alana stared at the bottle. "I didn't tell you I was honey. I've been doing this a long time." Sister Mary's smile was knowing but not mean. "You don't have to tell me anything you're not ready to share." That night, Alana took the first vitamin and tried not to think about how Young-soo would have reacted if things had been different, if he'd been who she thought he was, if she could have told him about the baby over dinner instead of finding it alone in a store bathroom while hiding from his world. She was getting better at not thinking about him. Or at least, that's what she told herself. What she didn't know was that in the black car 3 buildings down, Young-soo sat in the dark with his phone in his hand, staring at the message-blocked notice. His knuckles were white around the phone, the tattoos on his hands clear against his skin. One of his guys, Minjeon, loyal for 15 years, cleared his throat from the driver's seat. "Boss, we could just know." Young-soo's voice was quiet, in control, deadly. "We wait for what?" For her to realize running was never an option. Minjeon moved uncomfortably. "And if she doesn't?" Young-soo's jaw got tight as he watched Alana's shape pass by the window for the 3rd time that hour. Pacing, always pacing like a caged animal who didn't get the cage was unlocked. She just had to turn around and see him standing there waiting. "She will," he said finally. "She just needs time to remember." Remember what? Young-soo's thumb traced over his phone screen over the last message he'd sent before she blocked him. "I love you." That was never a lie. That she loves me, too. Inside the shelter, Alana finally stopped pacing and got into bed. Tomorrow, she'd figure out the next step. Tomorrow, she'd be stronger. Tonight, she'd just survive. She was getting good at that. 2 weeks at the shelter and Alana was starting to believe in miracles. She'd found a part-time job teaching English talk at a small school in Hongdae. Cash under the table, no questions asked. The owner, a grandma with silver hair and sharp eyes, had looked at Alana's shaking hands during the talk and hired her right away. The morning sickness was getting worse, but Sister Mary kept her with ginger tea and crackers. The other women at the shelter had started to warm up to her, shared smiles over breakfast, small talk about the weather, careful friendship that didn't need stories. For the first time since she'd walked into that office in Cheongdong-dong, Alana could breathe. She should have known better. Because here's something nobody tells you about, running from a man like Shin Young-soo. The quiet is never really quiet. It's just him deciding when to speak. It was a Thursday evening when Sister Mary knocked on her door with 2 cups of tea, the ginger kind. Alana smiled as she took the cup, thankful for the warmth against her hands. "You've been doing well," Sister Mary said, sitting in the room's only chair. But something was off. The older woman's hands weren't quite steady, and she wouldn't meet Alana's eyes. "Sister Mary," Alana's belly dropped. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Sister Mary paused, picking her words like she was handling a bomb. "Alana, honey, we need to talk about Shin Young-soo." The tea turned bitter on Alana's tongue. The cup shook in her hands, liquid about to spill. "Did something happen?" "Did he? He's offering a big donation to our group. Enough to keep us going for 2 years. Sister Mary's voice was gentle. "Sorry, he wants to talk to you." "Just talk." Alana set the cup down before she dropped it. "You told him I'm here, child." Sister Mary's face turned really sad. He already knew. The room dilted. Those 2 words, "he already knew," blew up in Alana's chest like a bomb. "What do you mean he already knew?" "He's known every place you've been since the airport. Maybe before." Sister Mary finally met her eyes, and the guilt there was clear. "He could have taken you at any point, but he's been waiting for you to feel safe enough to listen." Alana couldn't breathe. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of thinking she'd escaped, of building a life, of believing in miracles. And the whole time Young-soo had been watching, waiting, letting her play house while he pulled strings she couldn't even see. Her hands moved to her belly. Protective, natural. "How long have you known?" "Since the day you arrived." Sister Mary's honesty was somehow worse than a lie. "He called me before your taxi even pulled up." The betrayal hit like a real hit. Alana stood on shaking legs, her sight narrowing. "I trusted you. I know, and I'm sorry." Sister Mary stood too, hands together like she was praying. "But Alana, that man hasn't just been watching, he's been protecting you." New security for the shelter, better locks, panic buttons in every room. He sent detailed protection plans for every woman here. He's made this the safest place in Seoul. To protect his investment, the words came out sharp, sour. "To protect you." Sister Mary's voice got softer. "He calls every night, not to check on you. He can see you're fine. He calls to ask if you're eating enough, if you're sleeping. if you need anything. Last week, you had that cold and he had medicine brought in an hour. The prenatal vitamins I gave you, he sent those to. Alana's knees gave out. She sat hard on the bed, her mind racing. Every kindness, every comfort, all of it set up by the man she was running from. What Alana didn't know, what Sister Mary couldn't tell her, was that Yong-Soo hadn't just sent medicine and vitamins. He'd had his own doctor ready 24/7, set to come if Alana's health got worse. He'd looked up every pregnancy problem, learned every warning sign, and nearly broke down Sister Mary's door twice when Alana's morning sickness had been really bad. "Where is he?" Alana whispered. Sister Mary waited. 3 buildings down. Black car. "He's been there since the night you arrived." 2 weeks. He'd sat in a car for 2 weeks, watching her through windows, close enough to reach, but staying away. The obsession of it should have scared her. Instead, something warm and dangerous opened in her chest. Something that felt too much like wanting. "He wants to meet tomorrow," Sister Mary went on. "Neutral spot, a traditional Hanok in book. He said he'll answer any question you have. Complete honesty, no more lies." Alana laughed, but it came out broken. "And I'm supposed to just believe that?" "I'm not saying trust him. I'm saying that man has been sitting in a car for 2 weeks, barely sleeping, barely eating, just watching to make sure you're safe. Whatever else he is, Alana, he's not letting you go." Sister Mary pulled a card from her pocket. "Fancy writing, an address in Bukhon, but the choice is still yours." After Sister Mary left, Alana sat on her bed holding the card, her whole body shaking. She should run, pack her bag, climb out the window, vanish. But where would she go that Yong-Soo hadn't already thought of? Her phone sat on the nightstand. She'd blocked his number 2 weeks ago, but she'd never deleted his contact. Now she pulled it up, stared at his name for a long time, then unblocked it with shaking fingers. The messages he'd sent before she blocked him were still there. Dozens of them, the most recent from the day she'd arrived at the shelter. "I love you." That was never a lie. "Please be safe, Jagia. I'm not going anywhere. When you're ready to talk, I'll be here." Her sight blurred. She typed with shaking hands. "Why?" The answer came so fast. "He must have been staring at his phone for 2 weeks straight, because you deserve the truth. All of it." Another message. "And because our child deserves a father who's more than the monster you saw in that office." Alana pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to hold back a sob. She typed, "One conversation. That's all you get. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'll be there." His answer was right away. "I've been waiting for 2 weeks, Jagia. One more day won't kill me." The sweet word, Jagia, the Korean term he'd taught her on their 3rd date, while showing her to make kimchi in his apartment, hit her like a real hit. She threw the phone onto the bed and pressed both hands to her face, trying to hold herself together. In the black car, 3 buildings down, Yong-Soo finally let himself breathe. Minjin looked at him with barely hidden relief. She agreed. Yong-Soo's hands were steady on his phone, but his heart was racing like he'd just survived a fight. 2 weeks of watching her through windows, of forcing himself not to go to her, of trusting that waiting would win where force never could. Tomorrow, he'd tell her everything. The truth about his family, about the secret mission, about why he'd let her see what she'd seen in that office. Tomorrow, he'd give her the choice he should have given her from the start. And if she still wanted to run after that, Yong-Soo's jaw got tight as he stared up at her window, at the light still glowing behind the curtains. Then he'd let her go. He'd just make sure she took his heart with her, because he sure as hell wouldn't need it anymore. The Hanok in Buchan was beautiful in a way that made Alana's chest hurt. All traditional wooden beams and paper screens, a garden yard with a stone path leading to a private room looking over the mountains. It was the kind of place Yong-Soo would have taken her on a date back when she'd thought he was just a successful businessman with a killer smile. Back when she'd been silly enough to believe in fairy tales. She got there 10 minutes early, her palms sweaty despite the cool October air. A worker, older woman, kind eyes, led her to the private room and brought tea before vanishing like smoke. Alana sat on the cushion, her back straight, hands folded in her lap to hide their shaking. She dressed carefully that morning. Simple jeans, a loose sweater that hid the small changes in her body, her hair in a ponytail, armor that looked like casual clothes. And here's the thing about walking into a room to face the man who'd broken your heart. You think you're ready? You practice what you'll say, how you'll stand, how you won't let him see you break. But then the door opens and all those carefully built walls start to crack. At exactly 2 p.m., the door slid open. Yong-soo looked like heck. 2 weeks had carved shadows under his eyes, sharpened the already hard lines of his face. He'd lost weight. She could see it in the way his black button shirt hung a bit loose on his body. The tattoos on his arms seemed darker against skin that hadn't seen enough sun. But his eyes, gosh, his eyes were the same, dark and strong and looking at her like she was air and he'd been drowning. Alana, her name came out, rough like he'd been practicing saying it for 2 weeks and still couldn't get it right. She didn't stand, didn't smile, just pointed to the cushion across from her with a hand that barely shook. You said you'd answer my questions. Something flashed on his face, hope maybe, or relief that she was really there. He sat, movements in control, careful, like he was trying not to scare a wild animal. Anything, he said. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Here's what Alana should have asked first. Are you really in the mafia? How many people have you hurt? How many laws have you broken? But instead, what came out was, did you ever love me? Or was I always just part of whatever game you're playing? Yong-soo's jaw clenched, his hands, those tattooed, dangerous hands that had once been so gentle with her, tightened into fists on his legs. I loved you before I knew your last name. I loved you when you laughed at my bad Spanish sounds. I loved you the night you fell asleep on my couch watching Korean shows and I sat there for 3 hours, just looking at you because I couldn't believe you were real. His voice dropped raw and honest. That was never a lie, Jaggy. That was the only true thing in my life. Alana's throat got tight, but she forced herself to stay focused. She couldn't let him throw her off with nice words, and that voice that still made her insides twist. The office? What I saw that day. Tell me the truth. Yong-soo took a breath, and for the first time since she'd known him, he looked open, scared even. 3 years ago, my younger sister died from too many drugs. She was 19. His voice broke on the number. The drugs that killed her came from my family's work. The words hit like rocks in calm water. Alana's breath stopped. She hadn't expected that. Hadn't expected the real sadness that flashed on his face. My family, the Shin Group, they're one of the biggest crime groups in Seoul. Drugs, weapons, people selling. He said it like he was admitting murder. I was supposed to take over when my dad stopped. I was trained for it my whole life. But when Hannah died in my arms in a hospital room, begging me to make it stop, he stopped, jaw moving. I couldn't be part of the thing that killed my little sister. So, what did you do? Alana whispered. I went to Interpol. Yong-soo met her eyes, and she saw the truth there. The weight of it, the cost. I've been secret for 3 years, working to take down my own family from inside. Everything you saw that day, the bags, the guns, the deals, I was setting up the last mission. We were hours away from arrests when you walked in. The room spun. Alana held the edge of the table. You're working with the police. Interpol, Korean police, FBI. He pulled a folder from inside his jacket, slid it across the table with careful fingers. My boss's contact info. Official papers, case files, everything. She opened it with shaking hands. Official marks, photos of Yong-soo in meetings with people in suits, in offices with government signs, papers with labels and stamps that looked scary real. This couldn't be real. This was crazy. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice came out sharper than she meant, anger finally breaking through the shock. Why the heck did you let me believe you were a monster? Because if they thought you knew, they would have killed you. Yong-soo's calm broke, real fear coming into his voice. My uncle has people everywhere. If he thought for 1 second that you were in it, that you could talk, that you meant enough to me to be used. Alana, they would have hurt you just to hurt me. They would have... He stopped, his hands shaking now, too. I couldn't let that happen. So, you just decided for me. Alana's anger lit up fully now, hot and mean. You didn't think I deserved to know, to pick for myself. No, you're right. You should have trusted me. She stood fast, the folder scattering across the table. Instead, you let me run scared through Seoul, thinking I'd fallen in love with a bad guy. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Yong-soo stood too, his control finally breaking. I watched you run and it killed me. Every day for 2 weeks, I sat in that car knowing you were 30 meters away, and I couldn't go to you, couldn't hold you, couldn't tell you the truth, because my family still had friends who wanted me dead. Your family is in prison now though, right? Alana's voice dripped with sarcasm. So, the danger's over. We can all just move on. The mission finished 2 days after you ran. His voice was tight. My dad, my uncle, 17 of their top people, all caught. But what Yong-soo couldn't tell her, what would send her running again, was that his uncle had escaped jail 3 days ago, that there was a target on both their heads, that the danger was far from over. But it's complicated, he finished. There are still loose ends, people loyal to my family who might want payback. Alana laughed, but it was broken and bitter. Of course, this isn't really over. I'm handling it. You're handling it. She pressed her hands to her face, trying to breathe, just like you handled everything else by lying to me. I never lied about loving you. Stop. The word came out as a cry. Stop saying that, like it fixes anything. You don't get to love someone and control their whole life. You don't get to have people follow me, watch me, decide where I go and who I talk to, and call it protection. You're right. Yong-soo's voice dropped to barely a whisper. You're totally right. I'm sorry, Alana. I'm so sorry. The sorry hung in the air between them. Alana wiped at her tears, mad, hating that she was crying, hating that he looked like she'd just hurt him bad. The baby, she said finally, voice shaking. What do you want from me? Something fierce and owning and desperate flashed on his face. I want to be a dad. I want to be there for every checkup, every moment. He stopped, seeming to catch himself. But that's not fair. This is your choice. Tell me what you need. I need you to stop making choices for me. Alana's voice got steady. I need complete honesty from now on. No more secrets. No more protection that's really control. If there's danger, I deserve to know. If there are problems, I deserve to pick how to handle them. Done. I need space. Time to think about this. You don't get to just show up at my shelter or follow me around. I'll stay away. The words clearly hurt him. As long as you need and I need. Alana took a shaky breath. I need you to prove that the man I fell in love with was real. Not the crime boss. Not the secret agent. The man who taught me to make kimchi and laughed at my bad Korean and looked at me like her voice broke. Like you were my whole world. Yong-soo finished softly. Because you are. Alana wanted to believe him. Gosh, she wanted to so bad it hurt. One chance, she whispered. You get one chance to prove this is real. And if you lie to me again, if you control me or decide what's best for me without asking, I'm gone. I understand. The hope that grew on his face was heartbreaking and careful all at once. One chance is all I need. Alana nodded, not trusting herself to talk. She grabbed her bag, needing to leave before she did something dumb like go across the table and let him hold her. At the door, she stopped. Yong-soo, yes, your sister. I'm sorry for your loss. His eyes closed for a bit, pain in every line of his face. Thank you. She left before she could see him break. Outside, the fall air bit at her tear-wet cheeks. Alana pulled out her phone, hands still shaking, and ordered a taxi. Inside the Honok, Yong-soo stared at the scattered papers, at the empty cushion where she'd sat and let himself feel the full weight of what he'd almost lost. His phone buzzed. Minjin, sir, we have a problem. Your uncle's people were spotted near Hongdae. They might know about the shelter. Yong-soo's blood went cold. He'd promised to give her space. He'd promised to stay away. But if his uncle's people found her, there wouldn't be anything left to stay away from. Alana made it back to the shelter just as the sun was setting, painting the Hongdae streets in shades of orange and shadow. Her mind was still spinning from the meeting. Yong-soo's sister, the Interpol files, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only thing keeping him alive. She needed to think, to process, to figure out if she was making the biggest mistake of her life by giving him another chance. The shelter was quiet when she went in, too quiet. Sister Mary stood in the hallway, her face white, hands twisted together. Two women Alana didn't know stood by her. Hard faces, fancy suits, the kind of people who made the air feel dangerous. Alana's first thought was simple and awful. Something is very wrong. Her second thought, run, Alana. Sister Mary's voice shook. These people want to talk to you. Every feeling Alana had screamed to turn and run, but the woman on the left smiled, cold, sharp, and said in perfect English, I wouldn't recommend it. We have 3 men outside covering the exits, and we got Sister Mary here to turn off the new security for a bit. Of course, the betrayal hit like a slap. Alana's eyes snapped to Sister Mary, who looked like she might throw up. They said they'd hurt the other women. Sister Mary whispered, tears down her face. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to... The woman cut her off. Go to your room, old woman. This doesn't concern you anymore. Sister Mary didn't move, frozen in guilt and fear. Alana's hand naturally moved to her belly. Who are you? Friends of the Shin family. The woman's smile got wider. Well, the old Shin family before your boyfriend decided to become a traitor. The word traitor hung in the air like a knife. The man on the right, big build, scar across his jaw, stepped forward. Shin Yong-soo wrecked an empire, put good men in jail, all because he got soft over a dead junkie sister and some wrong idea of justice. His eyes looked over Alana with open hate, and then he got even softer over you. Here's what Alana should have done. Stayed calm, acted dumb, waited for a chance, but fear does weird things to people, and she'd spent too many weeks running to think clear now. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, forcing her voice steady even as her hands shook. Yong-soo and I aren't together anymore. I left him really. The woman pulled out her phone, showed Alana a photo, her and Yong-soo at the Honok taken through the window. The timestamp said 2 hours ago. Funny, you two looked pretty close for exes. Alana's blood turned cold. They'd been watching her, following her to the meeting. Here's what's going to happen. The woman went on, her voice nice, like she was talking about dinner. You're going to come with us, nice and quiet. We'll use you to pull Yong-soo out, make him pay for what he did to the family. And then, she shrugged, well, we haven't decided if we'll kill you before or after we kill him. Depends on how helpful you are. Sister Mary made a choked sound. The scarred man turned to her, annoyed. I said, leave, please. Sister Mary's voice broke. She's pregnant. The words dropped like a bomb. Both attackers went totally still. Then the woman's smile turned really mean. Pregnant. She started laughing, cold, happy. Oh, this just keeps getting better. Shin Yong-soo's baby. Her eyes shone with hate. His uncle is going to love this. We'll make him watch, while we... What none of them saw was the black car that had been parked 3 buildings down, suddenly starting up, with Minjin making fast calls to the backup team, or the fact that Yong-soo had never really left after the meeting. He'd been sitting outside the Honok for an hour, stuck by the fear that he'd said the wrong thing. Lost her forever. When Minjin's warning came, he'd broken every speed limit in Seoul to get here. Move, the scarred man said, reaching for Alana's arm. She jerked back, her mind racing. 3 men outside, 2 in here. No weapons she could see, but they had to have them. If she screamed, would anyone come? Would it just get Sister Mary killed? Don't make this hard, the woman warned. I'd listen to her, a voice said from behind them, cold as winter and twice as deadly. Everyone turned. Yong-soo stood in the shelter's door, and Alana had never seen him look like this. The businessman was gone. The gentle lover was gone. This was the man who'd lived 3 years secret in a crime family, who'd built his name on being more dangerous than anyone else in the room. The tattoos on his arms seemed darker in the dim light. His eyes were black, empty, totally scary. "Step away from her," he said quietly, each word exact and deadly. Now the woman got back first, laughing, nervous. "There are 5 of us and only 1 of you, Yong-soo. The math doesn't work for you. You forgot to count my men around the building." Yong-soo pulled out his phone, pressed 1 button. Outside, car doors slammed together. 6, maybe 7, the sound echoing like thunder. "And the police team I called on my way here. They should arrive in about 90 seconds. The scarred man's hand moved toward his jacket, toward a gun Alana saw with horror. But Yong-soo was faster. He crossed the space in 2 steps, caught the man's wrist mid-pull, and twisted with mean exactness. The crack of bone made Alana jump and look away. The man's scream got cut short when Yong-soo's elbow hit his throat. He went down hard, gasping. 80 seconds, Yong-soo said calmly, turning to the woman. His hand was steady as he took the gun from the fallen man's jacket, checked it with easy practice, then pointed it at the floor. Not threatening, just ready. "Your people outside are being held by mine right now. You have 2 choices. Run now and maybe get away before the police come. Or stay and find out exactly why my family put me in charge of force before I turned on them." The woman's face went white. She looked at her partner rolling on the floor, at Yong-soo's dead calm face, at the gun in his hand. She ran. The shelter blew up into mess. Sirens outside. Yong-soo's men coming in through both doors. Sister Mary crying in the corner. Police came through the doors 30 seconds later. And suddenly the small hallway was full of uniforms and flashing lights and organized mess. But all Alana could focus on was Yong-soo still standing over the moaning man on the floor, his chest moving hard like he'd run far, his hands shaking now that the quick threat was over. Their eyes met across the room. He crossed to her in 3 steps, his hands coming up to hold her face, tilting it so he could search her eyes. "Did they hurt you? No. Did they touch you, Yong-soo, the baby?" His voice broke on the word, his thumb brushing her cheek with soft gentleness. "We're fine." Alana's own hands came up to grab his wrists, needing to hold on. "We're okay." He closed his eyes for a bit, his whole body shaking with relief. Then he pressed his forehead to hers, breathing hard. "I'm sorry. Gosh, Alana, I'm so sorry. I should have told you about my uncle at the Hanok. I should have warned you, right? Instead of just having men watch the building. I should have you promised me space." Alana cut in, her voice shaking. She needed to say this before the rush wore off, and she couldn't think straight. "You promised." Yong-soo pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "I know. You followed me anyway." "Yes. No excuses, no reasons. You had men watching the shelter this whole time." "I never stopped watching." His jaw clenched, honesty hard in his face. "I promised to stay away, and I broke that promise before I even left the Honor. I'm sorry." "But Alana," his hands tightened on her face, "I will break every promise I've ever made, if it means keeping you alive." She should have been mad, should have pushed him away, asked him to respect the lines she just set hours ago. Instead, she heard herself say, "I can't do this if you keep lying to me. I know. I can't be with someone who treats me like I'm too weak to handle the truth." "You're right." His voice was raw. "You deserve better than that. Better than me." "I didn't say that." Alana's hands moved to his chest, feeling his fast heartbeat under her palms. "I said, I can't do this if you keep making choices for me. Your uncle escaped. That's something I needed to know. The danger we're in, that's something I needed to know." She took a shaky breath. "If we're doing this, if I'm giving you this chance, then we're partners. Real partners. That means you don't get to protect me from info just because you think it'll scare me. Even if it does scare you, especially then." Her voice got firm. "I'm scared right now. I'm terrified, but I'd rather be scared and know than safe and clueless while someone hunts me." Something changed in Yong-soo's face. Respect maybe, or the start of getting that she wasn't going to be the kind of woman who let him make all the choices. "Partners," he said finally. "Complete honesty, even when it's hard." "Even when it's hard," she agreed. A police officer cut in, needing stories. Young-Soo's hand slid down to hold Alana's fingers, and she let him hold on while they answered questions. While Sister Mary gave her crying story of being threatened. While the shelter slowly got back to something like normal. An hour later, standing outside while police worked the scene, Young-Soo turned to her. "Come home with me, please." His voice was careful, asking instead of telling. "Let me keep you safe until we find my uncle. I have a safe apartment, guards, stuff. You'd have your own space if you want it." "But Alana," his hold on her hand got tighter. "I can't let you stay somewhere he's already found once." Alana looked back at the shelter, at Sister Mary being comforted by the other women, at the police tape, at the building that had felt like a safe place until it wasn't. "Okay," she said finally, "but I have rules. Anything I want, daily updates on the stuff with your uncle. No easy words, no hiding bad news. Done. I want to meet your Interpol boss. Check your story myself." Young-Soo nodded. "I'll set it up tomorrow." And Alana took a breath. "I want separate bedrooms." I'm not ready for that yet." Something flashed on his face. Sad maybe, or wanting. But he just nodded. "Of course, whatever you need." Minjin was already bringing the car around, and as Young-Soo helped her into the back seat with careful hands, Alana got that she was doing it again, putting her safety in his hands, trusting him when every smart feeling said she shouldn't. But maybe trust wasn't always smart. Maybe sometimes it was just the risky bet of believing someone could change. Somewhere across Seoul, in a hotel room that costs more per night than most people made in a month, Shin Young-Soo's uncle got a phone call. "They failed," his helper reported. Young-Soo was there. Police got in it. The uncle was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I'll handle it myself. Find out where he's taken her. I want to know every move they make." He hung up and poured himself a drink, staring out at the city lights. His nephew had always been his favorite. Smart, mean, able. What a waste it would be to kill him. But family honor needed it. And if the pregnant American girl had to die, too, well, some prices were worth paying. Young-Soo's apartment was nothing like Alana expected. She'd prepared for cold, simple, dark colors, the kind of empty guy place that screamed no feelings. Instead, she walked into warmth, open brick walls, soft lights, bookshelves stuffed with Korean books and Spanish guides, and a kitchen that looked really used. And on the coffee table, old and folded, was the copy of 100 Years of Solitude. She'd lent him 4 months ago in Spanish, the one he'd been working through to impress her. "You kept it," she said softly. Young-Soo followed her look, his face hard to read. "I kept everything that reminded me of you." He cleared his throat, keeping careful space. "The guest room is down the hall. Private bathroom, anything you need. I'll have Minjin bring your things from the shelter tomorrow." The proper tone in his voice was on purpose, protective. He was giving her the space she'd asked for, even though everything in his body said he wanted to be closer. Alana nodded, suddenly knowing how tired she was. Her hands were still shaking from the rush drop, and every time she closed her eyes, she saw that woman's mean smile, heard the threats about what they'd do to her baby. "Thank you," she got out. "Alana." He stopped her with just her name. "If you need anything tonight, if you can't sleep, if you're scared, I'll be awake. Just knock," she wanted to say. She'd be fine. Instead, she heard herself whisper, "Okay." But what Alana didn't know as she went to the guest room was that Young-Soo wouldn't sleep at all that night. He'd sit in the living room with his gun on the coffee table, checking security cameras every 15 minutes, replaying every moment of the shelter attack, and listing everything he'd missed, every way he'd failed to protect her. The guest room was perfect, too perfect. Comfy bed, soft sheets, lavender smell in the air. Because of course Young-Soo had noticed her favorite smell during those 6 months they'd been together. Of course, he'd got ready for her even when he'd had no promise she'd ever talk to him again. Alana lay awake for hours, her hand on her belly, listening to the sounds of Young-Soo moving around the apartment. Around 2 a.m., she heard him stop outside her door, just standing there, not knocking, not coming in. just close enough that she could hear him breathing. She wondered if he could hear her crying. When she finally pulled herself out of bed at 8 a.m., she found Yong-soo in the kitchen, looking like he'd been up all night, which he probably had. Dark circles under his eyes, coffee mug held in tight hands, the careful control barely holding. "Did you sleep?" she asked. "Did you?" He turned, and the real worry in his eyes made her chest tight. "Not really." Alana wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold, despite the apartment's warmth. "I kept seeing them, kept thinking about what would have happened if you hadn't." Her voice broke. Yong-soo put down his mug, started to reach for her, then stopped himself. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. "You're safe now, am I?" The question came out sharper than she meant. "Your uncle is still out there. His people know what I look like." "No, I'm pregnant. You said this apartment is secure, but for how long? Until he figures out where we are. Until someone on your team gets paid or threatened." "Alana, I need honesty, Yong-soo." She wrapped her arms tighter around herself, trying to hold it together. "Complete honesty, like you promised. How bad is this really?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, brought up a message, and handed it to her. The message was from an unknown number. "Time from last night. Bring the girl. Let's talk like family. Maybe we can find a fix that doesn't end in blood." Alana's blood went cold. "Your uncle sent this last night while you were sleeping." Yong-soo's jaw was tight. "I almost didn't show you. I wanted to protect you from it. But you're right. You deserve to know." "What does he mean? Talk like family?" "It means hurt me while making you watch. Use you and the baby to push, then kill us all anyway." Yong-soo's voice was flat. "Matter of fact, my uncle doesn't deal. He punishes. This is a trap." The easy way he talked about their possible deaths made Alana's knees weak. She sat down hard at the kitchen table. "So, what do we do?" "We stay here. Stay safe. Let Interpol and my team find him." Yong-soo sat across from her, and she could see the tiredness, the fear he was trying so hard to hide. "Agent Chen is meeting us at 2 p.m. She explained the safety rules. "Answer your questions. Check everything I've told you. And if your uncle finds us first, he won't." But Yong-soo's hands were shaking a bit as he said it. Alana stared at this man who'd gone into his own family, who'd risked everything to take down a bad group, and got that he was scared. Not for himself, for her, for their baby. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. He looked up, surprised. "For what?" "For walking into your office that day, for seeing something I shouldn't have, and running instead of trusting you enough to ask questions." She laughed, bitter. "If I just waited 12 more hours like you said." "Don't." Yong-soo's voice was strong. "Don't say sorry for my mistakes. I should have told you the truth from the start. Should have trusted you with it instead of trying to protect you by keeping you in the dark." He ran a hand through his hair, mad and sorry in every line of his face. "I was so afraid of losing you that I lost you anyway." The honesty in his voice opened something in Alana's chest. "I want to trust you again. I do. But Yong-soo, every time I start to feel safe, something reminds me that you controlled my whole life for weeks. That you had people following me, watching me, deciding where I went." I know he didn't make excuses, and I know saying I'm sorry doesn't fix it. I know I have to earn your trust back bit by bit, day by day, and that it might take years or it might never happen at all. So why are you trying so hard? The question came out smaller than she meant. "The baby. Is this all about the baby?" Yong-soo looked at her like she just stabbed him. "The baby is gosh. Yes, I want to be a dad. I want to be there for every moment. But Alana," his voice dropped, raw and honest and breaking. "I fell in love with you before I knew about the pregnancy. I spent 6 months falling deeper every day, scared you'd figure out who I really was and leave. When you did leave, it nearly wrecked me. The baby is a miracle I don't deserve. But you're the reason I'm still breathing." The truth hung in the air between them, heavy with real. Alana didn't know what to say, didn't know how to match this open, honest man with the one who'd had her followed for weeks. "I need time," she said finally. I can't just forgive everything because you're saying the right things now." "I know." Yong-soo nodded, taking the line, even though it clearly hurt. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. At 2 p.m., Agent Sarah Chen arrived. Sharp suit, sharper eyes, the kind of woman who'd seen everything and believed nothing until shown. She spread files across Yong-soo's dining table like dealing cards, each one another piece of proof. 3 years, Agent Chen said, her English clear and pro. Shin Yong-soo has been one of our best helpers. The Shin group was behind about 40% of drug moving in Seoul, 15% of weapons sneaking in East Asia, and lots of people trafficking. Taking them down needed someone inside, someone they trusted fully. Alana flipped through photos. Yong-soo in meetings, watch footage, event report. In one photo, she could see bruising on his jaw. In another, what looked like blood on his shirt. He's been hurt, she said, looking up at Agent Chen. Many times. 17 times over 3 years, Agent Chen said. Twice, almost dead. The last one was 3 months ago. He took a bullet meant for me during a meeting that went bad. Spent 4 days in a private doctor place before going back to his cover. Alana's eyes snapped to Yong-soo. The scar on your ribs. You said it was from kid days. His face was guilty. I lied. I'm sorry. He's been protecting people this whole time, Agent Chen went on. Not just getting info, he's stopped 6 people trafficking loads himself, got dozens of victims free, and gave us info that led to catching over 50 big bad guys across 3 countries. The files showed a picture of a man who'd given up everything, family, safety, who he was to make things right. And now, Alana's voice was steady. Even though her hands shook, his uncle escaped. What's being done? Agent Chen's face got tight. We're chasing hard, but I need to be honest with you, Ms. Rodriguez. Shin Tae-won is very dangerous and connected. We've followed him to 4 spots in the past 3 days, but he's always gone before we get there. He has money, loyal people, and a personal hate against his nephew. How long until you catch him? Could be days, could be weeks, maybe longer. Agent Chen met her eyes without looking away. I can't promise you safety. I can only promise we're doing everything we can. That's not good enough, Alana said flat. I know, Agent Chen's honesty was almost worse than a lie, but it's all I have. After Agent Chen left, Alana sat at the dining table, staring at the files, her mind racing weeks, maybe longer, living in fear, looking over their shoulders, waiting for Yong-soo's uncle to move. I should have told you about the bullet, Yong-soo said quietly from the door. About all the hurts. I didn't want you to worry. I would have worried more if I'd known you were lying. Alana looked up at him. Do you get that? Every lie, even the ones to protect me, just makes it harder to trust you. I do now. He came to her slowly, sat in the chair Agent Chen had left. No more lies, even about the hard things. Even when I think the truth will scare you. Even when the truth will scare me. She agreed. They sat quiet for a moment, the weight of everything not said pressing down between them. Your sister, Alana said finally. Hannah, tell me about her, not how she died, who she was. The ask clearly surprised him. His hold tightened on the edge of the table. Why? Because I want to understand what pushes you. What made you ready to risk everything? She met his eyes. And because if we're doing this, if we're trying to build something real, then I need to know all of you. Not just the parts you think are safe to show me. Yong-soo was quiet for so long she thought he might say no. Then he smiled. Small, sad, real. She was smart, wanted to be a doctor, used to practice stitches on fruit in our kitchen and drive our mom crazy. His voice softened with memory. She was brave, the only person in our family who wasn't scared of our dad. She'd argue with him about everything. Politics, business, right and wrong, how he treated people. She sounds like she would have liked you better this way, Alana said softly. The version of you who fights against what your family built, instead of keeping it going. The day before she died, she told me she was proud of me. Yong-soo's voice broke. I'd just done some dirty deal for my dad, something that made me sick. But Hannah looked at me and said, you're going to be better than him someday. I know you are. He stopped, jaw working. She died believing I'd become everything I hated. She never got to see me try to make it right. Alana reached across the table, covered his hand with hers. Not love, not forgive, just people connecting. One sad person to another. She'd be proud of you now, she said. What you did took more brave than anything else ever could have. Yong-soo turned his hand over, holding hers like a rescue line. I don't know how to do this, how to be good enough for you, how to prove I've changed when everything I do feels like it's just another way of control. You start by being honest even when it's hard. Alana squeezed his hand. And you let me make my own choices even when you don't agree with them. Even when those choices might put you in danger. Especially then. She pulled her hand back, needing the space. I'm not weak, Yong-soo. I'm scared, yes, but I'm not helpless. And I need you to see the difference. He nodded slowly, getting it dawning in his eyes. Partners, partners, she agreed. That night, Alana lay awake in the guest room again, listening to Yong-soo walk the living room. Around midnight, she got up, stood at her door with her hand on the knob, thinking. She could hear him out there, close, but not too close, respecting her lines, even though it was clearly killing him. She opened the door. Yong-soo was sitting on the couch, gun on the coffee table, security feeds up on his laptop. He looked up when he heard her door open, surprise and worry flashing on his face. Can't sleep? He asked. Can you? No. Honest. Straight. Alana walked over, sat on the other end of the couch, not touching, just there. Tell me about the security, what you're watching for. So he did. He explained the camera spots, the motion feelers, the panic steps. He showed her how to get the feeds from her phone, how to set off the alarm, how to call his team if something went wrong. He treated her like a partner instead of something weak to protect. And slowly, bit by bit, Alana felt the walls around her heart start to crack. At 3 a.m., she fell asleep on the couch, her head tilted against the cushions. Yong-soo carefully put a blanket over her, then went back to his watch, looking at the security feeds and the woman sleeping 6 feet away from him. Outside, 3 buildings down in an unmarked van, one of Shin Tae-won's men lowered his lookers and made a call. Found them. Apartment in Yongsan, high security, but I've been watching for 2 days. They have patterns, weak spots. Taewon's answer was measured, patient, good. Keep watching. I want to know everything. When they sleep, when they're most chill, when his guard drops. We only get one shot at this. And then we remind my nephew that turning on family has costs. And we make sure everyone knows what happens to those who help him. The line went dead. Inside the apartment, Yong-soo's phone buzzed with an alert from his edge security. Movement seen 3 buildings down. Same spot. 3rd night in a row. His blood went cold. They'd been found. Yong-soo woke Alana at 4 a.m. with a hand over her mouth and fear in his eyes. She jumped awake, panic rising, but he pressed a finger to his lips. Silent, urgent, and she got it right away. Something was wrong. He took his hand off slowly, leaned close enough that his lips touched her ear. We've been found. We need to move now. Alana's heart beat hard against her chest. She nodded, rush flooding her, wiping away any sleep left. Yong-soo helped her up from the couch, his hand firm on her elbow, leading her toward the bedroom. Get dressed. Warm clothes. We have maybe 10 minutes. His voice was barely a whisper, in control, but she could hear the fear edge under. How do you know? Edge alarms. Same watch spot 3 nights in a row, but 20 minutes ago, the heat sign vanished. They're not watching anymore. His jaw clenched. They're moving. Alana's hands shook as she put on jeans, a sweater, her jacket. Through the bedroom door, she could see Yong-soo on his phone, typing fast messages, his other hand checking the gun at his waist. She'd never seen him like this, fully focused, every move exact. The secret worker fully out. It should have scared her. Instead, some deep part of her brain whispered, this is who he really is. Dangerous, deadly, yours. Here's the thing about bad times. It takes away all the fake, all the built walls. And what Alana got as she tied her shoes with shaking fingers was that she trusted him fully with her life, with their baby's life. Even after everything, she trusted him. Ready Young-soo showed up in the doorway, a go bag over his shoulder. Where are we going? Safe house outside the city. Minjin is bringing a car to the underground garage. We used the service elevator, skipped the lobby, totally. He moved to her, held her face with one hand, his thumb brushing her cheek. Stay close to me. No matter what happens, you stay close. Understand? Alana nodded, her throat too tight to talk. They made it to the service elevator with no problem. The building was silent, that weird 4 a.m. quiet when even the city seemed to hold its breath. Young-soo put himself between Alana and the elevator doors, one hand on his hidden gun. The elevator went down. 15 floors. 14, 13. At the 7th floor, it stopped. Young-soo's whole body went stiff. His hand went to his gun, pulled it in one smooth move, held it low and ready. The doors opened. Empty hallway. Blinking light. Nothing. But Young-soo didn't relax. That's not right. This elevator doesn't stop on 7 unless someone calls it. Maybe it broke. Alana's voice came out smaller than she meant. Maybe, but his finger was on the trigger. His eyes looking the hallway with hunter focus. The doors started to close. A hand shot through at the last second, hitting the sensor. The doors reopened. Shin Tae-won stepped into the elevator. He looked like Young-soo. Same sharp face, same dangerous style, but older, harder, with eyes that held nothing but cold thinking. 2 men with him, guns already out and pointed right at Alana's belly. Nephew, Tae-won said nice in Korean, then switched to English, his eyes going to Alana, and the pretty American who's caused so much trouble. Young-soo moved right away, putting himself fully in front of Alana, his gun aimed at his uncle's head. Let her go. This is between us. Lower your weapon or my men put 3 bullets in her before you can shoot. Tae-won's voice was calm, chatty. You know I'm not joking. What Alana could see over Young-soo's shoulder was the total sure in those men's eyes. They would shoot. They wouldn't wait. Young-soo knew it too. His hand shook a little, but she felt it before he slowly lowered his gun. Smart boy. Tae-won smiled. Now kick it over here. The gun slid across the elevator floor. One of Tae-won's men picked it up. They were without weapons, trapped, totally at his mercy. Here's what's going to happen, Tae-won said, pulling out his own gun. You're both coming with me. We're going to have a family talk about being loyal, about what happens next, about what happens when you turn on your blood. He pressed the button for the parking garage. And then, I'm going to make you watch while I kill her slowly and that baby she's carrying. And then, only then will I kill you. Alana felt the color leave her face. Young-soo's whole body went stiff with barely held anger. Unless Tae-won tilted his head, you'd like to make this easier on everyone. Tell me where Agent Chen is. Give me the spots of the safe houses, the names of everyone who helped you turn on us. Full help, and maybe I make her death quick. Go to hell, Young-soo said flat. I expected that. Tae-won sighed, sad, but expected. The elevator reached the parking garage. The doors opened onto dark. The lights had been cut. Alana could see shapes, cars, but beyond that, nothing. Move, one of Tae-won's men ordered, poking his gun into Alana's ribs. She stumbled forward, Young-soo's hand finding hers in the dark, squeezing once. Comfort or goodbye, she couldn't tell. They were halfway across the garage when the lights suddenly came on bright, blinding after the dark, and Minjin's voice called out from behind a concrete post. Drop your weapons. Interpol. You're surrounded. All heck broke loose. Tae-won's men turned toward the voice, guns up. Young-soo used the quick second mess to grab Alana and throw them both behind a parked car as shots started. The sound was super loud, shots bouncing off concrete, car windows breaking, men yelling in Korean and English. Alana pressed her hands over her ears, curled into herself, felt Young-soo's body covering hers fully. Stay down, he shouted over the mess. Don't move, don't look up, just stay down. More shots. Someone screamed. Glass broke above their heads, falling down in shiny bits. What Alana didn't know, what she couldn't see from her spot pressed against the cold concrete, was that Agent Chen had come with a full fight team. That Minjin had been waiting in the garage, setting up the trap, that Yong Su's people had been ready for this exact thing. But what none of them had planned for was Taewon's desperate. A hand grabbed Alana's hair, pulled her backward with mean force. She screamed and Yong Su turned just in time to see his uncle pulling Alana to her feet. Gun pressed against her head. "Everyone stop." Taewon's voice cut through the mess. "Stop shooting or she dies." The shots stopped right away. Alana could feel the cold metal against her skin, could feel Taewon's breath on her neck, could see Yong Su's face totally wrecked, scared in a way she'd never seen. "Let her go," Yong Su said, his voice breaking. "Uncle, please, she's pregnant. I know what she is." Taewon's grip tightened in her hair, making Alana cry soft. "She's used, and you're going to get me out of here, nephew, or I paint these walls with her brain." Agent Chen stepped into sight, hands up, weapon down. "Mr. Shin, there's no way out. We have 50 agents around this building. You kill her, you die. Let her go and we can deal." "I'm done dealing." Taewon started backing toward a black van at the edge of the garage, dragging Alana with him. "And I'm done watching my family fall apart because my nephew got soft." Yong Su followed, hands up, desperate. "Take me instead. Let her go. Take me. Isn't that what you wanted to make me pay? You'll pay by watching her die." They were almost to the van. Alana could see Taewon's getaway path, straight through the garage exit. Probably had a driver waiting. If he got her in that van, she was dead. The baby was dead. She had one chance. Alana went totally limp, letting her full weight drop. The sudden change threw Taewon off for just a second, but a second was all Yong Su needed. He moved like fast, closing the space, his hand shooting out to pull the gun away from Alana's head. But Taewon was fast, too, twisting, and suddenly, they were fighting for the gun. The gun went off. The sound echoed through the garage like thunder. For one awful forever moment, Alana didn't know who'd been shot. Then Taewon stumbled back, red growing across his shoulder. Not deadly, not even close, but enough. Agent Chun's team came in fast, weapons aimed, yelling orders. Taewon went down hard, agents piling on him, tying his hands behind his back. Yong Su dropped to his knees beside Alana, his hands fast running over her body, checking for hurts, his face white with fear. "Are you hurt? Did he hurt you? The baby? We're okay." Alana's voice shook bad. "We're okay, I promise." He pulled her into his arms so tight, she could barely breathe, his whole body shaking. She felt wet on her neck, tears. She got Yong Su was crying. "I thought I lost you," he choked out. "I thought I'm here. I'm here." She held him just as tight, both of them kneeling on the cold garage floor, while mess happened around them. Agent Chen came over, her face serious. "We need to get you both out of here. There might be more of his people." Yong Su nodded, helped Alana to her feet with shaking hands. Minjin pulled the car around, and they got into the back seat, both still shaking with rush. As the car drove away, Alana looked back to see Taewon being put into an ambulance, hands tied, with armed agents around. He caught her eye through the mess, and mouthed something that looked like, "This isn't over," but it was. It had to be. "Where are we going?" Alana asked, leaning against Yong Su's shoulder. "Safe house, just for tonight." His arm tightened around her. "Then tomorrow we figure out what comes next. Your uncle said to leave Seoul, to vanish. He's going to jail for the rest of his life. He doesn't get to say terms anymore." Yong Su pressed his lips to her forehead. But maybe he was right about one thing. Maybe it's time to start over somewhere new, somewhere safe. "Miami," Alana asked quietly. "If that's what you want." She thought about it. Leaving Seoul, leaving the fear and fights, and always looking back. Starting fresh somewhere warm near her family. Building a life that wasn't set by Yong Su's past. "Yeah," she said finally. "I want that." His arms tightened around her. "Then that's what we'll do." But as Minjin drove them through Seoul's before dawn streets, neither of them could shake the feeling that something basic had changed. They'd lived, they'd won, but the cost, the fear, the fights, the almost loss of everything had changed them both, in ways they were only starting to get. Tomorrow, they'd figure out how to go forward. Tonight, they just needed to survive. 6 months later, Miami wet air wrapped around Alana like an old hug as she stood on the balcony of their beach apartment, watching the sun paint Biscayne Bay in gold and pink. Her hand rested on her big belly. 7 months now, their daughter kicking like she was already ready to see the world. Behind her, she could hear Young-soo in the kitchen humming something in Korean while he tried to make her mom's recipe for ropa via. 6 months since that bad dream in the Seoul parking garage. 6 months since they'd got on a plane and left everything behind. Sometimes it still didn't feel real. She's active today, Young-soo said, showing up beside her with 2 glasses of juice. He'd traded his fancy suits for light shirts and had a tan that made the tattoos on his arms stand out more. He looked lighter somehow, younger, like the weight of his family's past had finally gone. She gets it from you, Alana said, taking the glass. Restless, always moving. He pressed his hand to her belly, and their daughter kicked right against his palm. His smile was pure wonder, the same look he got every time he felt her move. Strong, too, like her mum. Here's what Alana had learned about building a life from nothing. It wasn't big or movie-like. It was small moments like this. Young-soo learning to cook her family's food, her teaching him Spanish words that made her mum laugh. The way he'd spent 3 weeks building a crib by hand, because he wanted their daughter to have something he'd made with love instead of money. It was picking each other every single day, even when it was hard. Your mum called, Young-soo said, his hand still on her belly. Wants to know if we're coming to Sunday dinner. Something about teaching me how to make proper tostones because mine are. What did she say? An insult to Puerto Rican food. Alana laughed. She's not wrong. You keep making them too thick. I'm Korean. We don't have a way for fried plantain. But he was smiling. That soft smile he saved just for her. Though your abuela said mine were okay, so I'm choosing to believe I'm getting better. It had taken 3 months for Alana to feel safe enough to show Young-soo to her family. 3 months of help talks, of working through bad stuff, of learning to trust that they really were safe, that Taewon was in max jail, that the left Shin group had split, that they could build something normal. Her mum had been doubtful at first. Makes sense given that Alana had shown up pregnant by a man she'd never said, with a story that sounded like a K-drama. But Young-soo had won her over, slow, waiting, showing up to family dinners with flowers and bad Spanish, and real try to be part of their world. Her dad had taken longer, still watched Young-soo sometimes, like he was waiting for the bad part. But last week, he'd asked Young-soo to help fix the car, and they'd spent 4 hours in the garage together. Getting better. I have something to tell you, Young-soo said. Suddenly, his voice careful. Alana's belly dropped. She knew that tone. What happened? He pulled out his phone, showed her a message from Agent Chen. Trial moved up. Taewon saying guilty to skip death. Life in jail. Max secure. No out. It's over. The relief hit so hard Alana's knees went weak. It's really over. It's really over. Young-soo's arms came around her, steady and sure. Chen said yes this morning. He'll never get out. Never threaten us again. We're free, Jagia, really free. Alana pressed her face into his chest, tears down her cheeks. 6 months of tight finally letting go. Why didn't you tell me right away? I wanted to be sure. Wanted to wait until it was real. He pulled back to look at her, and there was guilt in his eyes. I know I promised complete honesty. I should have told you he was going to trial, that there was a chance. Stop. Alana pressed her fingers to his lips. You told me as soon as you knew for sure. That's enough. That's honest enough. Are you sure? I'm sure. She smiled through her tears. We're safe. Our daughter is safe. That's all that matters. But here's what Alana was learning about getting better. It wasn't straight. Even with Taewon locked away forever. Even with their life in Miami growing into something nice. There were still nights when she woke up gasping, still moments when a loud noise made her jump, still shadows of fear that hadn't fully gone. Bad stuff didn't vanish just because the threat was gone, but it got easier. Day by day, moment by moment, it got easier. That night, after dinner on the balcony, as the city lights sparkled below them, they lay in bed together, Yong-Soo's hand on her belly, feeling their daughter move, his face soft with wonder. "I want to marry you," he said quietly. Alana's breath stopped. "What? Not tomorrow, not until you're fully ready, but someday." He held himself up on one elbow, looking down at her with those strong dark eyes. "Someday, when you're sure this is what you want, I want to marry you. I want our daughter to see her parents pick each other every day. I want to stand in front of your family and mine and promise to love you for the rest of my life." Tears came to Alana's eyes. 6 months ago, the idea of forever with him had seemed impossible. Now it felt like the only thing that made sense. "Ask me again," she whispered. "What?" "Ask me again right now." Getting it showed in his eyes. "Alana Rodriguez." "Yes." She didn't let him finish. "Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, to forever. Yes, to building this life together. Yes, to all of it." The kiss was desperate and soft and full of everything they'd lived to get here. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Yong-Soo rested his forehead against hers. "I don't have a ring," he said, almost laughing. "I don't need one." Alana's hands held his face. "I just need you and this life and our daughter. That's enough. It's more than I ever thought I'd have." His voice broke. "More than I deserve." "Stop that." She poked his chest gently. "You've earned this. You've earned us." They made love slow, careful, thinking of her pregnancy, but wanting to be close. And after, wrapped in each other's arms, as the Miami night pressed against their windows, Alana felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. Full, total peace. 2 months later, Alina Hanashin came into the world at 3:47 a.m., screaming her mad at the bright hospital lights and the rude of being born. Yong-Soo cried harder than Alana did. "She's perfect," he kept saying, holding their daughter with shaking hands like she was glass. "She's totally perfect." Alina had Alana's nose and Yong-Soo's eyes, dark and strong, even at 2 hours old. She had a full head of black hair and lungs that could wake anyone. Alana's mum came first, took one look at her granddaughter, and cried. Her dad followed, rough and awkward, until Alina wrapped her tiny fist around his finger, and then he melted fully. Yong-Soo's mum flew in from Seoul 3 days later, nervous, not sure, meeting her son's girl and granddaughter for the first time. But when she held Alina and whispered to her in Korean about her Aunt Hannah, about how proud she would have been, Alana saw the sad and love in the older woman's eyes and got it. They were all broken in different ways, but they were getting better together. The wedding happened 6 months after Alina was born on Miami Beach at sunset, with both families there. Alana wore a simple white dress that fit her after baby body, and Yong-Soo wore a light suit that made him look like from a dream. Minjin stood as best man. Agent Chen came, not official, but smiling. Even some of Alana's friends from Seoul had flown in, the ones who'd helped her hide, who'd kept her secrets, who'd believed in her when everything fell apart. When Yong-Soo said his promises, half in English, half in Korean, his voice breaking on the words, Alana got that this was the real end. Not the big fight in a Seoul garage, not the escape or the fear or the running. This choosing each other in front of everyone they loved, building something real and lasting from the mess of everything they'd lived. "I love you," he said finally, dropping his ready speech totally. "I love you, and I will spend every day of the rest of my life proving I'm good enough for that love." "You already have," Alana whispered, and kissed him as the sun set over the ocean and their families cheered, and their daughter, held by her grandma, kicked her little feet in yes. The party after was loud and messy and perfect. Alana's family taught Yong-Soo's family to salsa. Yong-Soo's mom showed Alana's mom how to make proper kimchi. The two grandmas argued nice over who got to hold Alina more, and late that night, when the party had finally slowed, and they stood on the beach watching the waves. Yong-soo pulled Alana close. "No regrets?" he asked quietly. "Not a single one." She leaned into him, feeling the solid warmth of him, the safety she'd found in his arms. "You, only that I didn't meet you sooner. That we wasted time on fear and lies, when we could have had this. We have it now." Alana turned to face him, the moonlight painting his face in silver. "That's what matters. We have now and tomorrow and every day after that forever." He agreed and kissed her with the ocean as their sea and the future stretching out before them like an open road. 1 year later, Alana stood in the baby room of their new house, a real house with a yard and room for Alina to grow, watching Yong-soo rock their daughter to sleep. He'd gotten good at it, had a whole way of Korean songs in gentle sway that worked like magic. "She's out," he whispered, carefully putting Alina in her crib. The crib he'd built by hand that had taken 3 tries and 1 small hurt, but was now solid and perfect. They stood together in the doorway, watching their daughter sleep, her little chest going up and down, totally safe, totally loved. "I have news," Alana said quietly. Yong-soo looked at her, eyebrows up. "I'm pregnant again." For a moment, he just stared. Then his face split into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. He picked her up careful, always so careful, and spun her around in the hallway. "When did you find out?" "This morning. I'm only about 6 weeks." But she laughed at his face. "You're happy, happy." He set her down, held her face with both hands. "Jagia, he switched to Korean, words coming out too fast for her, still getting better skills. Then back to English. "I'm so happy I can't even find the words." Good. Alana pressed her hand to her still flat belly, because this one was definitely planned. "Unlike our first surprise," he said, his hand covering hers. "Best surprise of my life. Mine, too." He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. "Everything with you is the best surprise of my life." They stood in the hallway of their home, their sleeping daughter in the room next. A new life growing inside Alana, and the bad past finally really gone. The Shin crime family was gone. Taewon would die in jail. The fear and fights and running were over. What was left was this love, family, the beautiful normal mess of building a life together, and it was more than enough. It was everything. 5 years later, the Rodriguez Shin home was nicely messy. Alina, now 5, was teaching her 3-year-old brother, Jun, how to make sandcastles on Miami Beach, while their parents watched from under an umbrella. Alana, pregnant with their 3rd child, laughed as Yong-soo tried and failed to keep sand out of the picnic basket. "You know what I was thinking about?" Alana said, her hand in his. "What?" "That airport in Seoul when you grabbed my arm and told me I couldn't run." She smiled. "If someone had told me then that this is where we'd end up, you wouldn't have believed them." "No." She squeezed his hand. "But I'm so glad I stopped running." Yong-soo pulled her close, kissed her head, and watched their kids play in the waves. "So am I. So am I." If Alana and Yong-soo's trip from that scary airport fight to their beautiful Miami Beach life had you holding your breath, hit that like button. It really helps me know what stories you want more of. And drop a comment telling me, would you have given Yong-soo a second chance after everything he put Alana through, or would you have run and never looked back? I love hearing your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, because I've got more Afro-Korean romance stories coming your way. Dark, owning heroes who fall hard, strong girls who don't back down, and all the tension and passion you loved in this one. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Thanks for riding this feeling roller coaster with me. Until next time, stay loving those kinda bad guys who'd burn the world down for their woman.